Hey guys, and welcome to Comfy Cozy Up. So today I'm doing my May wrap up, and yes, survive May. I was having a really good reading month, guys. I was actually reading very well, and I was really enjoying my books. And the last week, when everything started happening, I could not read. Like, I literally was forcing myself to get through a book. So I had one other book that I didn't finish, and I couldn't pick up anything else even after that. So, but I'm still happy with the four books that I was able to read. They cover all kinds of genres, and they had values. And the first book that I'm going to talk about is probably the book that I feel has the most impact in terms of when I initially read it, I felt I was more drawn to the entertainment, to the distraction, the intended distraction, because now that I think about it, I can see why he chose to put all these stuff in the story and not really talk about something else. So the first book I'm going to talk about is James Baldwin, Another Country. So if you're not familiar with James Baldwin, you need to be. He's an amazing writer, and it's sad when I think about it now how much his stories are so relevant to now. And in this book, it's one of the books that, of the five books I've read so far, that he focused more on friendship, and a friendship in terms of characters who have a lot in common, but there's always that one thing that they don't. So in this case, we have friends who are, many of them are more closer than others, but they met, um, um, two of them met at younger age. The rest is always hanging out at this jazz juke joint. And of course, of the group of friends, one is black. And in this case, he is more of the troubled man. He's dealing with a lot of things that the other white friends are dealing with, but there's that one thing. And when I find myself thinking about this book now, weeks after reading it, I realize how that is affecting friendships right now, because there are people who do have that one black friend but never really try to get to know their struggle, try to get to know the things that they themselves would never have to deal with. And so that's something in this book that I thought was just like, wow. But at the time, I was so focused on their sexuality. There's quite a few characters in this who are bisexual, and sex is often used as means to deal with something that they're struggling with, something that they're dealing with. And how it was done, he really went a bit exaggerated on it. He really kind of had moments where I laughed, but then you think about it now after the fact and you realize it's a coping mechanism that they use it for, but then you also think that they never really try to get to know beyond that. There's also an interracial couple in this, and often she's portrayed as the angry black woman. Whenever she tries to express what she's going through and a struggle as a black woman that she's going through, it comes off that way, which after I reviewed this, because I did do a reading vlog and someone commented that maybe that was intentional, and I realized not intentional, but that was maybe his voice in the story of showing his feelings of that and bring it out in that character, and maybe highlight the stereotype and have us look at it in a different way. But this book is heavy, guys. It is heavy, but it's such a good read, and this is something I highly recommend. And it's very much a good discussion book, and I do feel and really understand why this is one of many people's favorite Baldwin book. So yeah, pick it up. So if you're new to my channel, one thing I always do every month, I read a Caribbean book and I also read a classic, and this book ties both together. It is from a Jamaican author, and his name is Claude McCain. He is this book is called Romance in Marseille. Now, I was not familiar with this, which is shame on me because I am Jamaican, but I also understand why this was different, because he's another author that was from the Renaissance era who experimental. They experiment with things. And in this case, the whole drama with this book is so interesting. Like, quite a few pages in the beginning of this book is talking about it, because he did not live to see his book published. Because this book was very controversial at the time. There were several titles for this book, and one of them I really like. But there was things about it too, because it deals with a disabled man, and it didn't focus on the disabled. It deals with characters of different work ethics. We're talking the prostitutes. We're talking, there was gay character in this, but they weren't the gay character with the drama. They were just gay character. So there were things in this that publishers weren't key on at that time to publish. And he sat on it, he revisioned it a couple of times, and it wasn't until I believe the 70s and someone did get their hands on this and was thinking of doing something with it. And there were apparently limited publication of this, which a lot of people didn't have their hand on, but it didn't become widely available until this year. Believe that. And this book may have been written between the late 20s, early 30s. So that tells you this book, how juicy this book was for me to read, and especially the background of it. Now, this is a story of a man who was having a great time, great time, and with this woman who took him for everything. And in his attempt to sort of get away and go to another country, he ended up on a ship that when they found him, of course, they put his butt in an area that he suffered, and because of that, he ended up losing his legs. So now he is there, and he was influenced to sue, which did happen, money involved. But whenever money involved, somebody's coming to get you or trying to swindle you at some point. But he always wanted to go back to the island, to the country that the madness started, where he got swindled. And just imagine the kind of people he's interacted with, and of course his weakness, women, a certain woman, and all the things that happen. Now, this story is very fast. It's 130 page, guys, but it has a lot of things, a lot of interesting characters. It also has moments where you feel that you kind of happy that they didn't just focus on him in a sad way where, oh my god, my legs are gone and my life is over kind of deal, or having these characters that are just have dramatic things happening to them as well. It was interesting. The ending, not sure. I have moments I'm like, I like that ending, because if you follow me, if you've been on my channel for a while, I have this thing where I'm working on these classics, these we're talking Victorian all the way to like all of the Harlem Renaissance, and how they often choose to end a book. And this is one of those that did the same thing, but in a different way, that I wasn't completely jumping out of my skin compared to the other book, but it's noted that it's definitely something that is interesting. So yeah. Now, the next book is a YA, and it's a popular YA. Everybody wanted to read it. Of course, I was going to read it because I read all her books, and that is Clap When You Land, and that's by Elizabeth Acevedo. Now, this is a YA. Oops, saw that beast. This is a YA that I was excited about because she went back to writing in verses. So I love the Poet X, so this one was up my alley, and I was excited for it. The thing, however, is I find that the drama of this story was juicy, and it makes you want to read it, but there's things that happen along the line that was just got on my nerves. So for instance, this is a story about a man who is living a double life. He is married to a woman who fits the idea of success, of being behind a woman who has a family that is considered, the cream of the crop. And then he married her, had a child, but also in the middle of all that, feeling like he can't live up to the expectation or what he thinks the expectation is, go back to his homeland in Dominican Republic to a woman who was his childhood friend, who happens to be the friend of the wife, and marry her as well and have a child with her as well. So now you have two daughters who are this, which is the cover right here. pretty much close in age and don't know each other, and then there was a plane crash that took the life of the father, and now you have a wife that's supposed to clean the mess up, and two daughters who are trying to get to know each other, but because they find out about each other through that terrible incident. Now all that just seems juicy. It seems so like, yes, a page turner. But there's this thing that in the book that annoyed me, where it seemed like there was just this timeline of forgiveness. There's a particular line that really just struck a nerve when someone said that the wife wasn't a forgiving woman. And I'm thinking, what woman would? Your husband done had another wife and a child and was keeping it secret, even though the wife did know about it early on, but it's the fact still remain. He was hopping on planes to go visit them all the time. So I just was annoyed, because it's like, this is not something that's just easily forgiven. This is not a 1, 2, 3, and even the focus was on the daughters. There's things about it that was just irked me. I don't know if you guys ever watched the movie based on a playwright by August Wilson, which is Fences, and that part when Viola took that baby in. If you were in the movie, that I'm pretty sure you heard a lot of the women, we just gasped, like, but it just reminded me of that. Like, the wife is supposed to clean up the husband's mess after he's dead, and she's supposed to do it with such a good, forgiving soul, and I didn't like that. I thought that was just nonsense. But it's still a good read in terms of the writing style. I'm here for verses, but yeah. So the next book is my favorite book, another 5-star. I think this is my third 5-star for the year, and that is the book of the Little Axe, and this is by Lauren Frances-Sharma. So this is historic fiction, and historical fiction is kind of pulling me in this year. And this is the really good story that has to do with Trinidad Tobago, and it goes way back. We're talking, the late 1700s, and it does have this thing of slaves, some mostly free slaves who are then colonized, and how things were happening, and how they got to America and was living amongst native people. So that's the gist of it. But it follows a young woman who she didn't want to be the typical woman of that time period. She wanted to basically sorry guys, my neighbor is loud. Sorry, hope you guys are not hearing. Okay, sorry about that, guys. So anyway, this is a historical fiction that deals with a woman, young girl. In the story, you are meeting her as an adult. She is an adult. She has a son. She has twin kids. She is married, and she's living in a native colony, native community. And she's like that woman that has these dreams and these intuition, and things happen where her young teenage son has gotten himself in a bit of a jealousy issue that surrounds a young girl, and there was a unfortunate situation, and she decided that after having this dream to leave with him. And while she leaves, she's going back, and you're learning about her young days and how she got to this Native American colony in the Colorado and Montana area. So in Trinidad, the parts were good, because she was that young girl that did not want to be confined to being a young girl who has to do what girls were told to do at that period. So she took up responsibility with her father that would traditionally go to her brother, who in this story did not want that. So she was doing everything that was not considered ladylike, womanlike, and in this case it became a bit of a protected thing with her father. I did a book reading vlog for this, and I did read a particular line, so if you want to check that out, because it's a little bit more detail of this. But what you get from this is how much he's willing to let her believe that she can have this life in the house, in their home, on their land, and not realizing, in reality she will not truly get that. But in this story too, you're getting British era. So a lot of the English speaking Caribbean islands were once Spanish owned, and when the British came in, things changed. In this case, she was free blacks that were living in Trinidad and Tobago. However, they weren't really free to do a lot of things. They still had issues, but they were not slaves. They had land, they had business, they were able to survive. And then once things changed, when the British decided to come in and take over, and you know, things changed and things happened where she was forced into decisions that weren't really great, and how she had to go away, and how she ended up at the Native American place. There's more to the story, of course. Can't give you all of it. You gotta kind of read it. But if you want to know a little bit more, you can watch my reading vlog. But it's a juicy and well written historical fiction, because she had to make sure she get it right, because there's certain things in this that she could kind of would have went the wrong way if it wasn't true. But I find that when I'm reading this, I'm constantly looking up information. I'm constantly looking up these native people that she talks about, because they are actually real. Also a little bit about the history in Trinidad and Tobago, because I did not realize they had a very heavy French community in Trinidad and Tobago prior to the British getting there, which I didn't know. And there's just so many things that was just small but still important things that was just interesting to me, and I wanted to get to know more, so I was doing all of that. So this was definitely a 5-star for me. I hope more people read it and really get to know Trinidad and Tobago. I think, and I would love some more Trini to read this, so they can tell me, you know, how much they knew about it, or if they learned anything new, how, if they're questioning things about it, you know, that would be great as well. But definitely add this on your list as a Caribbean book. So I am going to end this here, guys. This is 4 books, but in essence 4 books that are very good, well written. You know, even though I did have a problem with the YA, but the writing style is, you know, she did her thing. So let me know if you've read any of these, and what was your, you know, if you loved it, didn't like it, all that good stuff in the comments. And I hope everybody is hanging in there and trying to smile through a lot of the madness and the heartbreaking things. But we're gonna be alright, guys. So thanks for watching, guys, and have a good day.